Good morning, Jerusalem. Barry Davis here behind the mic at the Orthopede Studio #2 in the east of the city. And we'll start off with some traffic news. The western entrance to the city is jam-packed down to the Sakharov Gardens, and things aren't moving too freely in the vicinity of the Damascus Gate either. And just before you go, I'll just let you know that the weather will thankfully be relatively comfortable today with a high of just 26 degrees. So as I said, chill out and enjoy your day.
From 1923 until 1948, Jerusalem and the whole of Palestine fell under the British mandate. In 1917, the British government had issued the Balfour Declaration, promising the Jewish people a national home in Palestine. Increasing waves of Jewish immigrants from all over the world, especially Europe, came to Palestine. Tensions started rising between the immigrants and native Palestinians, with several outbreaks of violence. The British had created a mess that was too big for even them to handle, so they handed over the issue of Palestine to the United Nations. On November 29, 1947, the United Nations General Assembly voted to partition Palestine into two states, Jewish and Arab.
Soviet Union, yes. United Kingdom, abstain. United States, yes.
The resolution of the Dutch Committee for Palestine was adopted by 33 votes, 13 against, 10 abstentions.
Immediately, there were celebrations within the Jewish community in Palestine. The Jewish people's dream of a homeland was about to become a reality. On the Arab side, there was no dancing. The Palestinians were just about to lose more than half of their country. Demonstrations and riots erupted all over the country. Shock, despair, and a sense of betrayal were the dominating moods. "56% of the land was given to the Jewish state, and the remaining 44% allocated to the Palestinians. Although at the time, Jewish people in Palestine accounted for 33% of the population and owned only 6% of the land. Jerusalem and Bethlehem were designated as international zones to be administered by the United Nations. On the 14th of May, 1948, the Jewish state was declared. Soon after, war broke out between Israel and its neighboring Arab countries. The Arabs lost the war, and Israel had now captured 78% of historical Palestine, including West Jerusalem. East Jerusalem, including the Old City, remained under the jurisdiction of Jordan. The war also created a refugee problem. 2,000 Jews had to leave their homes in the Old City. 19 years later, they would all return. For the Palestinian refugees, the story was different. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were uprooted and became scattered across the region. Some never left Palestine, but instead became refugees in their own country. The remnants of many of their villages and homes still stand today, bearing witness to their tragedy. A long and painful chapter in the history of the Jewish people was just about to be closed, and a long and painful chapter in the history of the Palestinian people was just about to begin. In March 1949, Jordan and Israel signed the Armistice Lines Agreement to form what is nowadays referred to as the Green Line. It gets its name from the green pencil that was used by the Israeli general Moshe Dayan. The Israeli side of the Green Line includes the captured 78% of historical Palestine. Jerusalem now stood divided between east and west. Snipers' positions were mounted along the dividing line. Jews were not allowed to visit the Western Wall, and Palestinian refugees were not allowed to return to their homes in West Jerusalem.
According to the census I myself conducted in 1967, there were 10,000 Palestinians in East Jerusalem that were born in West Jerusalem. Not only general refugees, people who actually were born. So you say about 1 in 5 in East Jerusalem was a displaced person from the same city. Think about the emotional burden of that.
Well, this is my house. I have a picture of the house that is circulating among the family. It was only after the Deir Yassin massacre that my father thought of leaving the house. My father left, I think, the very last day, the very, very last day. And he carried with him a tablecloth and a radio. And I remember when my mother was packing and she was adding, it was April, she was adding some winter clothes for the kids. And my father was shouting at her, "Don't take too much luggage. You'll be back in 2 weeks." Well, we're in 2007. Well, the door to the staircase is the original door. And if you go up, you can go and take a picture of the staircase. You can go. I don't mind. You go and see that we have 2 entrances to the house. This gate is the original gate. They added nothing, in fact. The trees are the same. This pomegranate tree is the same. The academia tree is the same. I don't know, I did not go to the back garden to check on the trees. Yeah, you pick up the music. This was not the music played when we were here. You take a picture of these people. These are the new tenants and the new people of this area. They just look at us and say, what are they doing here? If we live in fantasy, they live in denial. And one day, we should both come to reality. And the solution is in fairness. Fair is fair for both sides. I deserve to go back and live in our house. Finished, huh? خلاص.
غاب نهار آخر غاب نهار آخر غربتنا زادت نهار واقتربت عودتنا
1967 was a fateful turning point for Jerusalem. The Cradle of Holiness added another chapter to its long and bloody history. After 6 days of intense fighting, the whole of Palestine, including all of Jerusalem, fell into the hands of Israel